guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Karina 𝔼ℙ if you're new here. If you are not new here, so Karina 𝔼ℙ. So today we, as you already know, are talking about Game of Thrones Season 3. As you already know, we're talking about Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. I really thought it was going to be called The Battle of Winterfell, but that's just me. So that was a really long episode. We have a lot to get into, so let's just get into it. Not going to delay anymore. If you want to keep watching and watch me talk about Game of Thrones, the craziest episode ever, feel free to. If you don't want to, I understand. Alright, let's just do this. Alright, The Long Night. So the episode starts off with, we see our beloved Samwell Tarly, and he is in the courtyard of Winterfell. Battle preparations are happening all around him, and he looks scared, and that's kind of just going to be a common theme for him throughout the episode, just fear. We see Sam, and it's like a long tracking shot, and it follows him as he's walking throughout the courtyard. The shot passes from Sam to Lyanna for a moment, to Tyrion, as everyone around them is prepping for battle. You can tell that the suspense is being heavily built in this episode. It's really genius. Just everyone seems like stressed, on edge, shit's about to go down. Then we get cut to where the battle's gonna happen in front of the castle. We see thousands and thousands of men. We see Dothraki, we see Unsullied, we see the Free Folk, we see everyone. And we see that both men and women are fighting in this battle because, you know, equality on the battlefield, am I right? And Podrick, Brienne, and Jaime are front of the line for pretty much like the knights, people fighting with the sword. And then we see, of course, Grey Worm is leading the Unsullied, and Jorah is with the Dothraki. And then in front of the Free Folk, we have Tormund. I butcher his name every time. We have Tormund, we have Beric, and Henry. The Hound joins them, and Gendry as well. So we got everyone in place for this battle. Sam joins, and Ed from the Night's Watch. Sam joins them in the front lines of the battle for God knows what reason. Don't know why he's on the battlefield. I don't think he should be there. I don't like that he's there. And next to Jorah on the battlefield is Ghost. As you know, that's Jon's direwolf. I don't understand why Ghost is on the front of the lines. He definitely should be with Theon protecting Bran, because Ghost has proven himself really good on 101. You know, he could take down that Night King. Not as good as some do, though. And then Jon and Daenerys are in the distance, and things are awkward. Things are not good in there between them, and you can tell this is the awkwardness is there. They're just standing like distance apart. It's awkward between them. Things are not right. It'll be very interesting to see how things go in the coming episodes. The few that are left. And then out of nowhere, a single horse shows up. And for a second I was like, Howland Reed? No, it's not Howland Reed, but someone else pretty cool. It's Melisandre, the Red Witch, and she shows up, and she goes to the Dothraki army, and she goes to Jorah. She's like, do you speak their tongue? And he's like, duh. She's like, have them raise their weapons, or something like that. And then she does a Red Witch spell on it, and then all the Dothraki swords, or I don't know what they're actually called. Their weapons just light up with flame, and it is tight. Everyone is like, whoa. Looks really cool. And just so you know, I'm going to put all the information of what I'm putting on my face in the description box down below. But as she is doing the spell or whatever, the witchcraft over the blades, you can hear like the whites in the distance and how scary it is. It's stressful. You can just hear their nasty little existence. Now while she's doing some really fucking cool shit for us for the battle, she seems tired. Like she's like, I've lived a long life. And then she even says to Davos, she's like, don't worry, dude. I'll be dead before the dawn. You don't have to execute me. After the Red Witch speaks to Davos, she looks up at the ramparts, I think that's what they're called, and sees Arya and gives her a look, like a type look. She knows. She so knows. I don't know how she didn't tell anyone. That's a fucking secret. But she knew. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you really shouldn't be watching this because spoilers, gosh. So I don't know why, but the Dothraki decides to charge ahead. Just because your weapon is lit on fire does not make you invincible. So they charge ahead into the whites, and almost immediately we see it from Jon and Daenerys' point of view because they're up high above everyone watching because they're supposed to be waiting for the Night King. Night King. We see that the Dothraki like all charge with their spears, and you know they're all on fire. It looks really tight, but then slowly like all the flame goes out, and it's just quiet. And we see it from the perspective of like Jaime and Brienne and everyone on the battlefield. They're like, the fuck just happened? Dany then breaks their plan because their entire plan was for them to just stay on high ground and wait for the Night King. Don't exert yourself, don't exert your dragons. Poor dragons did so much in this episode. So Dany breaks the plan, and then Jon like grabs her arm as she's leaving, and he's like, the Night King is coming, and she's like, the dead are already here. And then after that we are cut back to the battlefield, and it's quiet, and then you just hear the creepy sound that the White Walkers make. And suddenly out of nowhere, it's like a tidal wave of whites just getting our army, and it is go time. It's time to fight. And fight they do. It's insane. Alright, I did my fuzzy eyebrows off camera to save us a couple of years. So where were we? So, battle has begun. Shit is getting crazy. All our favorite people are just, it's wild. And it's really hard to see, but that was a cinematic choice, and I think it was really effective because you have to think about the fact that they were fighting in the middle of the night, unlike Battle of the Bastards, which was midday. That's all I'm saying. Think about it before you start being like, I can't see it. Then you're obviously haven't formatted your TV properly, and that's a you problem and not a we problem. So there's this really many moments where pretty much there's so many moments where it looks like one of our faves is going down and someone just comes over and is like, yeah, and saves them. It's really great. Made me almost cry like 16 times, but it's fine. Game of Thrones, like I haven't gone through enough emotional damage with the review. Since Daenerys and Drogon dipped on the plan, they begin like blasting where all the whites are charging towards their people, and it's really cool. It looks amazing. You know, they're just trying to save everyone. Half the Dothraki just died, so they're putting in some work. And then Jon is flying away from where they're supposed to be perched anyway, so he also broke plan. And he like flies into, it's cloudy, but it's like a smoky cloud. It's a trap that the Night King has laid out, because he's like, oh, y'all definitely gonna be flying, so I'm gonna make it hard for you to see. And it's really insane. Like, it's impossible for them to see. It's very dangerous flying conditions. Would not recommend it. But it looks really cool, and it's very stressful to watch John like fly through that. And then as shit's getting more real and it looks like everybody's being pushed back, like the whites are advancing quite quickly. There's a point where up on the ramparts, Arya turns to Sansa and she's like, go down to the crypts. Go down to the crypts. No sacred place. And she like hands her a dagger, not the dagger, but a dagger. And Sansa's like, I don't know how to use this. And she's like, sticking with the pointy end. It's cute. And then we get a montage of our army fighting all the whites, and unfortunately we see Ed from the Night's Watch get stabbed in the back, I believe, after saving Sam. So rest in peace, Ed. Your watch is over. And then at a certain point our troops are like, pull back, retreat. And then they retreat towards the castle. Little Lyanna's like, open the gates! It's very epic. And then the Unsullied are like, protect the retreat! And it's really crazy to see them like, oh, like in front of the gates to protect the retreat. It's very like guys, I literally thought Grey Worm died like 15 different times. Like I was convinced many times. I'm like, oh, that was him, he's dead. And like start tearing up, but like it wasn't him. Spoilers, he doesn't die at all. I really would have put money down on him dying, but that's probably not very nice to do. But I would have like hard guessed that. Then there's a really epic moment where the Hound is running towards the castle and a white is trailing after him, and then out of nowhere like a flaming arrow comes out of nowhere and like hits the white behind him. Then he looks up and it's Arya, and she's just like, they built a like really amazing like trench around the castle, and they had an air signal for Daenerys or Jon to light the trench when it's time. And they begin doing the air signal, and well, due to the like misty cloud storm that the Night King made, they can't see the signal, like they can't see anything. So Melisandre goes in and she uses her magic fingers and she like does some like magic words, and she lights the trench, and it's really epic. And as soon as she lights it, like a light comes like at her face, and it's very stressful. It's truly like the coolest thing ever to have seen. Like I don't know if I was ever really the biggest Mel fan, but like she did some tight shit for our people this episode. And then down in the crypts we get a moment between Sansa and Tyrion, and they're just talking, and they're pretty much like, oh, it never would have worked between us, which is funny. And then because Sansa says something like, it would never work between us because you're dragon queen, something about that. And then Missandei steps in and be like, yeah, it wouldn't work because of the dragon queen, because without her we'd all be dead right now, which is very true. So Missandei just always queened Team Daenerys, which I can respect. And then over where Theon and Bran are, because Theon's protecting Bran, all the Ironborn are, Theon says, I'm sorry, Bran. And Bran's like, it's chill. I brought you to where you are today, protecting my ass, because I can't fight. And then he's like, I gotta go now, and like wargs away. He becomes the Ravens and is just like watching the battle. Maybe he's looking for the Night King, but we really don't get to see what he sees, so I'm very curious to see if that comes into play later. I hope it does, because it'll be very intense to see what Branny Raven got to see. Three-eyed Bran. There we go, I like that. And then back at the battle where the trenches are lit up due to Melisandre, the whites just kind of do this thing where they like fall on top of each other to create like a break in the fire, and then they just like stampede over that. So we thought every time we think we're like ahead and we're doing good and we're winning, we are taken back. So, and then people are like, man the walls! And so it's like, obviously, time to man the walls. Like, shit's just getting crazier and crazier and crazier. There are too many whites. Compared to how much army we have / have left, there's too many. It was so stressful to watch. Sidebar, Brienne of Sarah Brienne of Tarth, because she's his sister now, is an absolute badass. Just like Gwendolyn Christie, like watching her fight, like so sick. She's so good. It was very much a treat to see her like in action like that. I loved every moment of it. So the whites are climbing over the ramparts. They're everywhere. It is absolute chaos. Like it's insanity. Like you just look at it and you're just like, there's no way we win. There's no way we make it out of this. And we get to see Arya. This is really just like an Arya episode. Let's be real here. It was. And she's so badass, literally killing it in this episode. We get to see like all her training that she's done throughout the seasons come into play, from 𝔼Ⅎ to the her time in Bravos with the Faceless Men. It's really, she's just incredible. Macy does an amazing job. Then little Lyanna, poor little Lyanna. Lyanna, there's like a giant like white giant, there we go, comes into the Winterfell courtyard, like smacks Lyanna, and she's all like knocked out. But then she gets up and she like charges at him, like screaming, like really gnarly. And then he like picks her up and you hear him like squeeze her, and then she stabs him in the eye. Then he dies and they both die. So R.I.P. Lyanna. You were badass. Where I left off. So yeah. So the Night King finds Daenerys and Jon, and like a little bit of like fighting happens at the end, but not too much yet. And then we get cut to this really brilliant like library moment. And if you watch the Games Revealed 40-minute pretty much making of the episode from the makers of Game of Thrones, what they did is they had the structure of the library, and then they had the directors had the extras, and they're like, okay, this is your path. There was like 10 of them maybe. This is your path, this is your path, and this is your path. Everybody had their own paths that they would just like do throughout the scene. And then what Maisie had to do, and I think they did it a few times, is where she had to like silently like sneak around the library without getting caught, and then maybe they found a few that like worked, but it was really cool to watch and very suspenseful. And then in the crypts, we cut to the crypts, and they're starting to be able to hear like whites, and even there's a point where there are people, supposed like knights, people fighting for them, like banging on the door, like begging to get into the crypts, which is really sad to think about. But oh man, it's not necessarily the safest place. And then Arya literally runs into Beric and the Hound. It's really cool to see them all meet up. And then, unfortunately, our boy Beric like dies in his final death in a very like Jesus-like way, but he dies, and it's very sad because he's such a tight character. So, rest in peace, Beric. I hope you had a good life. But you had like a bunch of them, so I hope you had some great lives. Then there's a really cute part in the battle, in the part when they all meet up, where the Hound literally picks Arya up by her like torso and like carries her out of fighting. It's brilliant. It's super cute, like moment between them two. Where were we? Oh, I threw on some winged eyeliner because I cannot possibly do that on camera. I apparently can't do it off camera either. So let's see, where were we? So Melisandre, Arya, the Hound, and Beric, who's dying, are all in the same room. They like find like a quiet place. And Arya's like, I know you. And then Mel's like, oh, I know you. And then she's like, we'll meet again. She's like, you said we'd meet again. And meet we have. And Arya's like, you said I'd shut eyes forever. And she's like, yes. Brown eyes, green eyes, blue eyes, blue eyes, get it? Get it, blue eyes? Do you get it? Exit out. Got it. Got it? Get it? Blue eyes? You on the same page? Good? Cool. And then Melisandre's like, what do we say to the god of death? And Arya's like, not today. And then she like books it out of the room. We don't see her until later, and it's tight. So the Night King is fire blasting holes in Winterfell. Viserion and Rhaegal fight nastily in mid-air. Viserion is the dragon that the Night King is icified. Rhaegal is the dragon that Jon Snow is riding, named after his father. And it is a nasty fight for our dragons. They are just like grabbing at each other's throats. It's just foul play. So, oh yes, Daenerys joins Jon and the Night King in their battle, and she gets involved in that, and they're all fighting everywhere and flying. It's quite a lot to do. It's very stressful to watch. Jon and Rhaegal make a crash landing. And Jon goes after the Night King because I think he's on the floor too at this time. So everybody's on the ground. Oh. Oops. God, I always do that. I never learn my lesson. Daenerys tries to Dracarys the Night King, and he just stands there and is like looking at her like, not today, Missy. Not today. He like takes his spear out and like throws it at Daenerys in midair, and she like gets out of there quick enough, thank gosh. So it's stressful times. Stressful. So it's time for Jon versus the Night King. Jon's like running at him, and as Jon is running as the Night King's like, and he like does his like thing where he like raises the dead like this, and so everybody comes back from the dead. Everyone who all our people have been fighting, every single one of them come back. So we see the repercussions of that. There are people who are fighting them are just like, could you imagine how exhausted they are? Oh my god. And then, though, let's hold for just a second. Why would people think that the crypts of Winterfell would be the safest place to hide from the king, the Night King, who raises the dead? You're gonna go hide and have all these people hide who can't fight in the place where the dead are against the king of raising the dead. I don't know whose plan that was, but it was a stupid plan. Very stupid plan. And yeah, so everyone's in the crypts, and you know what? The dead come back to life. And then Jon gets lost in a sea of whites, and it's very scary because they're like, Johnny boy, are you okay? Then of course Daenerys comes and saves Jon from the sea of whites, but as she's doing so, all the White Walkers, not the White Walkers, the Whites like start attacking Drogon, her dragon, and like there are like a thousand. There's a whole effing bunch on top of Drogon, and it's very stressful. And she like rolls off, and he flies away, and they're like biting him and stabbing him. So like that can't be good. Like he's got to be injured after that if he's not brutally injured already. So Daenerys is like flipped off her Drogon into like the sea of whites, so like not a good scenario for her to be in, especially because she has no combat skills, which I feel like is something that she should have been trained in. Like I understand that she's a Khaleesi and she doesn't necessarily need to because people fight with her, but on the off chance that one of these days that you're going to be in a sea of White Walkers, maybe learn how to use a sword. Just a suggestion. But lucky for Daenerys, Jorah, the man who has always loved her, shows up, and he comes to protect her, as always. And Daenerys picks up a sword, and she's stabbing some whites when she can, because of course she's not going to just stand there and do nothing when there's bazillions of enemies around them. She's not stupid. But it's stressful. Then there's a sweet, tender, very tender moment in the crypts where Sansa and Tyrion are hiding behind like something together from the whites, or the dead Winterfell people, as they're like killing everyone in the crypts, and they like holding hands, and then like they both pull out their little blades that they have, and they're like, okay, we gotta protect our people. And Tyrion like grabs Sansa's hand and like kisses it, and then they both like lurch out from the behind the thing they were hiding behind. And they go to defend the Winterfellies. And then there's a part where Jon is running throughout Winterfell, and Viserion is there. He's like landed there, and he's just like out of control, spitting out fire. Like it's coming out of his neck. You see like bits in his faces are torn off. Like my dude's not doing too hot right now. So we see him, and he's spitting fire everywhere. And Jon's like struggling to get past him. He's struggling to get footing, and he's nowhere near Bran. He's nowhere near him. Like, he's not gonna get to him in time. And then we get a montage, a slow shot montage of our heroes fighting the whites, and it literally seems like every single one of them is gonna die, but spoilers, none of them do. I would have bet you lots of money that Brienne was gonna die, Grey Worm was gonna die, Tormund was gonna die. I would have bet you money. I would have been like, hard yes, they're all gonna die. I was ready with a tissue for my tears. None of them died. Not that I'm complaining, but I just really anticipated it. But that's not to say that there isn't time for that. We'll deal with that later. So it's a beautiful montage, and then the music starts getting really crazy. And they use piano, which they've only used, I think, once before when Cersei blew up the Sept. The Sept? I think it's the Sept. And so the Night King finally comes for Bran, as Bran predicted, and he's like slow walking. The music is heartbreaking and really just drawing your attention to the fact that we lost. Like, the Night King is walking towards Bran. We lost. We died. We're doomed. It's all over. It's not going to go well. So Theon dies defending Bran. Do we care? No. No, we don't. So yes, the Night King goes to grab his blade to stab Bran. And from like right here, we see a face coming up like, yeah, to stab him. And he turns around and grabs her by the throat. It's 𝔼ℎ, and she has her blade right here, and he like squeezing her neck, and she drops it, grabs it with this hand, and stabs him with, I think it might be Valyrian steel or dragon stone, but she kills the Night King. And he breaks into a million pieces like a shattered ice sculpture, and so does every single white in Winterfell. Go Arya, she kills the Night King. She did it. Holy crap. It was there. I feel like maybe it's a little forcibly there, but I can't believe that it was her. I think it's incredible. And pretty much the end of the episode, we see Jorah die, we see Melisandre die. She takes off her necklace finally, as we know, because we've seen this before, that she's really an old lady. So Jorah's dead, and Daenerys, Emilia Clarke just gives the most incredible performance there, where she's sobbing over his body, and it's very sad. And Drogon flies down and like wraps himself around them, and it's very touching and very sad. So alright, to tie this up quickly because my camera's gonna die, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you think, what you thought, if you cried, when did you cry, did you cry, did your favorite character survive? Probably because none of them died. I really expected more people to die, but that's not to say that that's not coming, because I'm sure it will. They really like to break our hearts and give us what we're not expecting, and maybe we expected more characters to die, so they're like, not today. I'm so excited for what's going to come. I don't know how we're going to just shift to Cersei now. I'm very interested to see how next week's episode goes. But thank you guys for hanging out with me and talking about Game of Thrones. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more of me doing things like this with my face. Until then, I will see you next week for sure for episode 4 of season 8. But I will also be putting up a endgame review similar to this, or analysis, or whatever, breakdown of it once I see it again on Wednesday, because I need to see things twice. I get too excited the first time. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!